Hey geeks and gamers, today we're actually doing something different. This video is about fan mail. I've been getting a surprisingly a lot of fan mail. I'm actually one of the biggest YouTubers of all time. It's crazy. I didn't even know. So I got some fan mail here. We're gonna read some fan mail. Dear Alex, that's me. Why are you just a Metal Jesus ripoff? So we got our first letter here. Dear Alex, why are you just a Metal Jesus ripoff? Okay, let's try the last one here. Dear Alex, you talk a lot about Sega and Atari. Do you even like Nintendo? Of course I like Nintendo. I grew up with Nintendo. Nowadays I do prefer to play retro Sega or Atari consoles, but I still love Nintendo. If you can't tell by my Metroid canvas here and my Mario Kart poster, I do love Nintendo. I started out with the Super Nintendo. Donkey Kong Country is my jam, but in terms of like the original Nintendo, I didn't really grow up with it. I don't really have that nostalgic attachment. Not saying I don't love some of the games, because I absolutely do. Games like Zelda 2, Ninja Gaiden, Castlevania, fucking golf. Like, there's some great games for the Nintendo, but I don't even own one. I have a Retron 5. So maybe some people call that blasphemy, but like as much as I like Nintendo and I do buy some of these games, the original Mario Bros. Is probably my favorite Mario. Mario's right here. Right. Mario's right here. While I do love the original Mario Bros., I just don't have that nostalgic attachment. I grew up playing Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. And out of the two, I've always been a Sega fanboy. The Sega Genesis is my favorite console. But you know what? I wish I knew somebody that really liked Nintendo, that really liked the NES, that could really give you some more information, more than I can. Somebody that really loves the console. I don't know. All I know is that, Jesus, I'm really thirsty. Okay. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get something to drink. Okay. I'm gonna go get something to drink. What in the hell? Am I at Retro Rewind?
Hey, somebody wants to know about the NES?
Oh, hey, Ash.
Hey,
It's
how you doing,
Ash.
Alex?
What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Hey, Alex, how you doing, man?
Welcome back to Turbo Zone.
Yeah, man, guys, welcome to Retro Rewind again, man. How can I do for you today, man?
I guess you're going to show me NES?
The Nintendo Entertainment System.
We are Nintendo Ultimate TV Game System. Aim your zapper gun. You cannot beat us. Even with your robot partner, you cannot beat us. Discover new worlds. You cannot beat us. We are Nintendo. We challenge borders. You cannot beat us.
It's a great system. It's one of the best systems.
It looks like
It's
a weird
8-bit system.
VCR.
It is. It's actually designed by VCR.
Is it?
Yes, actually. The first one came out in Nintendo. Nintendo came out in Nintendo. First one came out in Japan, actually, and theirs looked a whole lot different, actually. And so what they did, they knew ours wouldn't go down on the shelves like that. So actually, it was the time of the VCR. So they actually designed it to actually work like a VCR and to look good sitting next to the VCRs. So that's where our design came from. But it was eventually a design flaw, is like the pin thing and whatnot. The Nintendo is really good for a lot of different reasons. You know, one for one, I grew up with it. It was my first console. I'm sure as many others' first console in the 80s that it came out. It's a reliable console. It takes a lick and it keeps on ticking. It really does. It has withstood the test of time and has still, gained popularity on it or whatnot. It's got a lot of good features to it, which we'll go over and explain. It's got a lot of really good games, a lot of fun times, and still a lot of life yet to be lived on it. So, yeah.
But I think the important question is, can it play Sega 32X?
No, it cannot
Not
play Sega
interested.
32X.
Not interested.
No, it cannot. It does not have any adapters. However, on the Super Nintendo, there are some Sega adapters, but unfortunately not for the no Nintendo here. It's as basic as it comes as far as 8-bit systems.
Which is one of the best things about it.
It's simple. It's very simple. It's very fun, very simple. You know, there's no saving the game. Of course, there's a couple of accessories out there that would have let you done it, you know. But pretty much once you were dedicated into it, you had to figure out the level and get through it. Or sometimes, you know, we left our systems on for days trying to get through a game and that kind of thing. So it really takes us back to a lot of childhood memories. For me, though, like, you know, now we have all these, like, PlayStation 3, 4, we have all these, you know, Xbox Ones and everything. You have all these new systems, and yes, gaming is going to a totally really cool direction. It's going to an online direction. It's going to a new digital, you know, optical direction that's just amazing. But, you know, that's cool and all, but for me, gaming, this is what gaming is about. It's about having the game, you physically put it in, you have copies of it, you play it, you have to get through it, you have to challenge yourself. You know, a lot of kids come in here going, hey, what is this controller? You have, you know, almost like Back to the Future, you have to use your hands? No, you know.
It's like that's a baby's toy.
Exactly. It's like that same kind of thing with it. But really, you know, the hours and hours of fun it can bring to families, it's great. There's pretty much all walks of life of different tastes of games that you want, just like everything else with the new stuff too. But yeah, man. I mean, just it's a great system. It's a beautiful system. Designing, engineering, the look of it, just the functionality of it, hardware-wise of it. You know, they mass-produced a lot of the pins and are in a lot of the games that went on to create a lot of their, you know, Nintendo's memory and a lot of their advanced things kind of, you know, from all this and with their boards and stuff. So,
cool. I always thought like the NES was like the sweet spot of retro because like anything before NES is kind of, it's hard to get into because it's hard to really hook up nowadays.
True. Yeah. Like, yes. Like you have, like, you know, like your Atari, your Intellivision.
Yeah. Which I love Atari.
Here's the thing. Like they all used to work for each other. You know, that's why they all kind of sound the same. Like, I think the guy's name was Bushnell for Atari there, and, you know, they all, like, Activision, when I think everything hit the fan after E.T. and Atari had broken into the original company it was, I can't remember, a bigger company had moved in and bought them out. Like, all these developers weren't getting recognition, so they left them, so that's why Activision and Television, ColecoVisions came out. And yes, they had these weird, you know, they were meant for the old 70s where the TVs with the antennas and having to screw things in the back and all that stuff. So what a lot of people don't realize, though, is that, you know, Atari was actually supposed to make Nintendos for them in '83 when they came out before the crash. A lot of people don't realize that you know, instead of seeing Nintendo here on the front of it, you know, we were supposed to see Atari on the front, which is totally just mind-blowing and weird on there. You know, but that never worked out. But a lot of people do feel that, you know, things before that were more complicated because right around this time, you know, technology was changing. We were getting newer TVs. Coax cable was invented. You know, we had that. We did have our VCRs and recording stuff. So a lot of that stuff, but then you also had things like TurboGrafx too, as well, that was also an 8-bit system that actually, you know, that some people would even say was equal or better than the Nintendo. But the price tag on it was expensive, it just didn't hit the, you know, it was in the States, but it just never hit popularity. Nintendo really came through with a lot of their stuff, and they became a staple in every home, you know, and just they hit the marketing on everything, you know.
Yeah, it was like, this is like the birth of like where gaming is today. Like,
yeah,
this is really where it
like
started.
A lot of the developers that are still around, like Bethesda, you know, you have Bally. I mean, a lot of the, you know, arcade games that carried over, that have games like Capcom. You see, a lot of your bigger games today on these newer systems started out on these systems, you know, and that, to me, that's just mind-boggling. There's a lot of games like that. Of course, that's actually what makes these highly sought after as well. There's a lot of good creators and engineers that worked on these games that spent hours and hours that, you know, before we had today's computers, when they had the ancient technology, the fact that they were making these things do this stuff was just, you know, mind-boggling, you know. To me, you know, that's another reason why I like this system today. With our technology we have, people can easily make their own games. You have a lot of homebrews, you have a lot of repros. So it's pretty much whatever you want to do on this thing you can do now because everything is available to you, which it wasn't, you know, 20 years ago. So to me, that just adds even more, you know, sugar on the icing for me. You know,
so Ash, you own a video game store. So you should be a pro on this. Give me some NES collecting tips.
Some NES collecting tips.
What if I've never heard of this NES console? Where do I start? What do I do?
If you've never heard of the Nintendo Entertainment System console, I guess the number one thing you need to figure out is how you're going to pronounce it. People either call it NES or they call it Nintendo. You know, I grew up never calling it NES. You know, I guess you can. That's me. I would start out there first. Decide which way you stand on that. Second off, I would do homework, because collecting from the Nintendo is like any other of these video games. It's a detail-oriented collector market out there. You have a lot of fine-tooth comb things that you really have to go through with games and conditions and, you know, a lot of these different accessories and things for these things. You really have to watch out for key things, especially with pricing on them and whatnot. You know, I would definitely do my homework and look into how the system works, you know, who created it, where it came from, some of the history about it, you know, get to know some of the competition, like who designs these games, because that will really tell you a lot of what, you know, their mindset on where they're coming from. Because, you know, in Japan, their mindset of their playing the games over there was challenging. They wanted challenging games that here in the States with NOA, Nintendo of America, they said, you're crazy, these games are too hard. So Americans definitely had a different outlook on what they wanted with Nintendo games versus the Japanese, which they, you know, today, you know, they had a lot of the cooler games or whatnot, you know, which ended up on the back end getting released with a different name over here, or they calmed them down or something like that, you know. But we just never did catch on to that. We liked more of the Hollywood side of it, and so a lot of the you know, you have like your punch outs with Mike Tyson. You have, you know, there's Mario Andretti's Racing. So you do have a lot of actors, Larry Bird's one-on-one. So, yeah, so I mean, you do have a lot of acting that marketing that are starting to go into this video game at this time. You know, that led up into further things like Nike. You know, all these Nike commercials now and everything else too.
And like games based on film were very, very prevalent.
Oh yeah, well yeah, you've got. I mean, that was big part of it. Of course, you know, you might go play a game like Back to the Future. You play it, and you know, it's all about a little mouse. But there's nothing about a mouse in the movie.
Yeah, it's like about,
you know, it's like
making
the world. But a lot of times, what they did though, they would have, you know, when they would design these games, they would use the same levels and have a way where they would just change them around and use the same sprites around. It was the way they would design the game. So, and that's kind of cool because, you know, like I said, today people have figured out how to go in there and play with that and can redesign it and everything else. But definitely collecting for it, you know, knowing as much knowledge as you can will definitely save you on the back end of knowing not only how to save you money, how to save you time, and what to look for. Anyone can walk down the street and look into a store and say, oh, there's a Nintendo, let me buy it. And, you know, you not know anything about the pricing, you not know anything if it works or not, and how to fix it. You could really either get a really good deal or you could be getting a really bad deal. So doing that would definitely save you a lot of headache and a lot of trouble and a lot of frustration, especially if you're looking just to have fun and wanting to experience a retro system. You know, these systems are old. They came out in, what, 82 and 85. We're going on 2018 here. You're talking about 30, 40 plus years old of a system here. There is hardware in here that, you know, sometimes it's maintained by people and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's pulled out of a garage and it still works or whatnot, you know. So collecting wise, you definitely need to know what to look out for, what to stay away from, what you want to do. So the more knowledge you can get, the better it is. Pricing on this stuff is another thing. Pricing is a wide variety, a big thing. Of course, eBay kind of sets the Bible on the pricing of this stuff as well. There are a lot of different sites out there that will guide you with pricing on it. You know, like even though I do the store, I still couldn't tell you the price of every single game that I've come across. You know, so I still even have to use a guide. That's what it's there for. So learning how to use the tools that are there to help you, to educate you on these decisions and all that stuff, that's a big part of it as well. And then just knowing, you know, what you can get away with cleaning them, what to look for, and the fun of, you know, trying to fix a system that you know, trying to recycle it or whatever your likenesses are, whether you want to get something complete in the box that's brand new without touching it, you can put on the shelf, whether you want to get something broke that you fix it yourself to say, hey, look what I did, just to have the fun of it. So you know, all that stuff is what you need to figure out, because that will tell you what direction to go in collecting.
So Ash, what are your favorite NES games?
Oh gosh, Conquest of the Crystal Palace is one of them. Contra is another. Gosh, I always like Dick Tracy was another. Batman, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, Batman, yes,
I mean, there's so many. I mean, like Punch Out was a good one. You have POW was a good one. Keo Warrior was a good one. Ghouls and Ghosts and Goblins or whatever was a good one. That's a really good one.
I mean, yeah.
Some of my favorite old ones are the older style ones, like I said, like the Crystal Palace game or whatnot, Conquest of the Crystal Palace, those types of games. There's another one I'm trying to think of. It's kind of like in that area that I'm trying to think of that designing type of a game. It's not really like steampunk. It's definitely like a Japanese comes to America type of almost type of way. That's what I'm.
Well, and I always find myself loving the RPG games.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest,
Dragon Quest.
Gosh, Zelda even.
Faxanadu.
Yeah, Faxanadu is a really great game, and actually, the Faxanadu is supposed to be for the Famicom.
Yeah.
So it's Xanadu for the Famicom. Xanadu is actually what the game's supposed to be called.
Crystalis.
Yeah, Crystalis.
One that I always find myself like coming back to for some reason is Zelda 2.
Oh yeah, it's like Link to the Past, or Link or whatever.
Link's Adventure, right?
Yeah, Link's Adventure. Yeah, great.
Yeah, it's
Link's
because like it's such a different Zelda game than all the other.
It is. It's a side scroller. Why they decided to go for side scroller?
But it's just interesting because it was the Wild West.
It really was. The sky was the limit with creativity. If you could come up with a generally good idea and you got behind it, you got just Nintendo kids behind it, it was out of your way. Just like you said, Zelda there. Like if it wasn't for the Zelda though, the second Link wouldn't have been a great game.
Is this Afterburner?
That is Afterburner.
This is a Sega game.
That is a Sega game. So that's right up your alley there, man.
Why is this on Nintendo?
Well, what had happened with that is Nintendo had an employee that went rogue on them. Basically, Nintendo has a lockout chip inside of it that basically is a security chip. So if you wanted to write games for Nintendo, you had to go to Nintendo, say, hey, this is what I have, pitch the idea, they had to like it, sync the idea into it, and then they gave you a code to go around their hardware they had in here to let the game work on it. Well, this guy just disagreed with that 100%. He thought that was bull, he worked for him. So he came up with a way to go around that tin chip with the Tengen cartridge. Well, Nintendo not only felt they were backstabbed, they felt a lot of other things. So they actually, took the guy to court. They actually won. They were made to take the games off the shelves. So those games are, they're not too highly collectible or whatnot, but they are out there. They are a different cartridge, and it's a wild different story. Actually, and if a lot of people that mod their Nintendos, which we'll get into in a minute, there's actually a security chip in there that you can mess with that actually will make it not even work with it when you default
I have a few games. Like I have Gauntlet.
Yeah.
And
which is a great game. Yeah, absolutely.
And Vindicators works, but on my Retron 5 Gauntlet, the Tengen cart version wouldn't play at all.
Yeah. Like a lot of the Retrons, you got to remember it's not actual hardware on there. It's a computer chip. It's just simply little computer chips emulating this hardware. So a lot of things that have different chip sizes in there, or like Castlevania, like that game for example, they're not 100% compatible. That's why I tell people, if possible, to stick with the hardware, because this stuff is meant for it. It's meant to be used and cleaned and whatnot.
But something like the Retron 1. It's a very cheap alternative.
They are a very cheap alternative. Like I tell you, you can get them, especially you can find them online. Usually for $5 to $10.
If you just want to play Mario,
you can find them new for
Dr. Mario.
Yeah. So if you're like a weekend warrior, you don't have a lot of money, but you do want to get into this and play it. There are different options for you out there. There are different generic Nintendo systems that Family clones, Nintendo clones that they call it. You have a lot of these mini things now that have these built-in games on there.
Isn't it like a high quality Nintendo, third party Nintendo? It's like
there is the ATV. I believe it's the ATV, I think, or something like that.
Yeah,
it's like a really expensive Nintendo.
It's like a $500.
But what they basically did, they basically took old stock Nintendo. They found somehow a warehouse that had all Nintendo stock warehouse hardware in it, and they basically took it and made their own Nintendo with Nintendo's blessing. Is what they did. And that's why it's so expensive, because it's actually using actual hardware.
It's actual hardware.
Yeah. So which is cool. Yeah, it's really wild. But there's a lot of different options out there. Like if you can, especially, I would try to get to afford one of these. You can get them for a wide variety. They're not that expensive. Especially for the longevity it will last you and the joy it will bring. It's almost like having a piece of history in your home. So that's the way I look at it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I guess lastly, I just want to ask you, I don't know anything about this VCR. Like, how do I clean this thing?
How do you clean this thing?
What's tips?
All right. When we talked about collecting a little bit, this obviously thing is an old system. These things are approaching, 30, 40 odd years old, even older than that in some cases. A lot of times some people haven't even touched them. They pulled them out of a garage or whatnot. So these things definitely need a wipe down. The way these things work is they have a male to female end. Like inside these cartridges here, there is a little, there's copper pieces, little metal pieces in here that go into, pins in here. If I had a pin set around here, I would show you what it would look like. Actually, I might not. here. I will show you. This is what the pin looks like inside of there. I don't know if you can see that or not.
We'll do shots.
Yeah, right. But this thing basically fits inside of there, and that's how that goes on there. So obviously these can get dirty. Dirt can get in there, especially you can't get in there to that. So what cleaning it or whatnot, you can sit there, Q-tips, rubbing alcohol, always clean all these metal things off or whatnot, because it's a connection-based system, which meaning when you put that game system in here, which I won't do that to make it make the noise or whatever, but there's pins in there that have to connect, and sometimes if they're dirty, if they're corroded, that the whole light blinking thing. People think that when the light blinks that the system is broken or doesn't work. That's not the case at all. What the system is thinking is it has a foreign game into it. It's region locked, which means you can't play like a Japanese Nintendo on it. You can't play a game on it. You can't play a European Nintendo game on it. It has to understand that code for it to work. So when that blinks, it's not understanding that code. Well, either it's one of two things. Either you have a foreign game in the system, or it is dirty and not making the proper connection. So people, that's the one miscommonly understood thing about the Nintendo. They think they see that red light, it's like an Xbox. Oh, it's the red light of death, it's broken. Not at all. This thing is an older machine. You push the button, it does, you tell it what to do when you push that button, it does it. If it doesn't, something is wrong, but maintenance of it, is pretty forward. The things are made to simple screws. After this model, actually, they use these little security screws in the Super Nintendo because this thing is so simple to get into. Phillips screws. There's 6 screws in the bottom of it, actually, and you've got 6 in the very bottom. They come out. It lets you to get right to everything where the game goes. So as far as like getting a duster in there to clean that out, that's no problem. You clean these things out. You can get to it. There's all kinds of YouTube videos that will educate you on how to do all that stuff and take them apart. But as far as it goes to hardware and maintenance on it, they're really simple, but no one really understands that about it. A lot of people want to jump on the bandwagon in collecting, but that's why I say it's very important to teach yourself the knowledge and the tools about this, because this stuff will make it or break on you. You could save you a lot of money. Like if you sell this out in the wild, you would pay not a lot of money for this, and you could piece it together for barely nothing. Versus if you went out and bought this, it would cost you, more substantially. So definitely knowledge on it is the way to go. And this stuff is old. It needs to be maintained for it to last for our kids, their grandkids. It needs to be cleaned, and all that stuff to last, and it will, keep fun going forever. But as far as that's another reason why I like the system. It's easy to do on it. Versus like having to take an Xbox 360 apart and clean it laser. So, and it's a lot of fun doing it. It's a hobby for me. I enjoy doing it. It's peaceful. It teaches you a lot of different things about doing it, and it can even be a family event.
Now, last question here, Ash. Does it have blast processing?
Does it have what on it?
Blast processing?
Blast processing.
Like the Sega Genesis.
It
does not.
No, it does not have blast processing on it like a Sega Genesis. No, it does not. It does not have 32X. They did, however.
What did they do?
In Japan, though, however, on the bottom of the Nintendo, they do have an expansion port on here. And a lot of people say, a lot of people
plug in your Sega CD.
Personally,
right?
I use this as a screw holder. This thing has been the best screw holder I've ever had. But in Japan here, they had the CD system, which is a floppy disk or whatever. We never got that here in the States, so they never made any kind of adapters. I think we got the Game Genie, and we got like a Famicom adapter, which is Japanese Nintendo that can go in there and play different stuff. But if you're wanting to get into collecting this old stuff, this is where it started with a lot of game ideas, a lot of like Final Fantasy stuff, a lot of these different games that are still running today. It started here on this.
Mega Man has a new game coming out next month.
Got Metroid. Just so
Mario,
many.
Zelda.
Zelda. Even a lot of the smaller ones. There's just so many of them. Friday the 13th. So there's just so many games out there. But
Rareware was one.
I also tell people with kids or whatever, that instead of getting them like a PlayStation 4, they really should start them out at the bottom and work their way up to learn about the different, the phases of it or whatnot. But it's one of the systems that is what it is. What you see is what you get. You can control it, you can clean it, and like my experience of it, ones that don't even work as long, when after you clean it and love on it, it loves you back, and that's why I love the Nintendo. It's one of those systems that it truly is. Generally, if you love it, it will love you, and that doesn't exist anymore. So that's why I absolutely love this machine.
That's awesome.
It's my favorite. That's because that's what it really does. Everyone I've had is what it boils down to.
Well, thanks, Ash. You know, I'm not really a Nintendo guy, so I don't know that much about
Yeah. Well, hopefully that helped you out a little bit. There's still so much I could go on and on about it that we could have episode after episode on it and forever talk about it. You know, it goes into so many different branch things. All I can say is, you know, if you're interested more in it, definitely YouTube is what taught me a lot, and there's information out there all the way. Or come in here, be more than happy to go over it with you and go in detail with you more. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, man. Thanks
Yeah,
for coming back
good
on the
seeing
show.
you, man.
It's always good to have you on the show.
Nintendo, man.
Even though I was kind of forced this time, you know, I was kind of like,
you know,
can I
hey.
have my kitchen back?
Yeah, you sure can, man. So, hey, I'll see you later, Lex. Take care, man.
See ya, man. Oh, wow. That was weird. But thank you, Ash. Thanks to Ash, we learned more about the NES today. Once again, Ash works at Retro Rewind. He owns the store. Please check them out on social media. He posts stuff on his Facebook about recent pickups all the time. So please follow him. Just follow him. Just follow him. Just follow him around. Just follow him around town. I'll put his links in the description below. And as for me, I'm working on stuff. I'm doing things. And if you have suggestions for videos, let me know in the comments. I'm always doing different stuff. I'm always looking to do different stuff. And if you want some real advice, go play some golf. It's fucking golf.
Hey geeks and gamers, TurboBot90013 here. Remember to subscribe to the Turbo Zone for more content. The Arcade Overlord, thank you. Stay retro. Turbo Zone.